Welcome to Family Business Breakthroughs, where we bring you time-saving, money-making strategies to improve your business even more. With over 3 decades of experience serving multi-generational family businesses, we've got time-tested solutions that get the results you're looking for. Listen in and get ready for your next breakthrough. I am your host, Jim Berner, and today I have with me co-host Sheila Janan. Sheila, what's up?
Hi, Jim. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Today we are talking money, moolah,
Woo, yeah.
cash,
Money,
dinero.
money, money.
Anything else you want to add in there?
Bling, cha-ching.
That's what I'm talking about. So today, who better to join us but Betsi Bixby, founder of Meridian Associates, over 30 years of experience supporting family businesses. But Betsi, uh, your initial focus with our family businesses was cash flow. It was money.
Mhm.
That's how it all started, as you being a banker, and I love it. What better way to have this today?
Yeah. Jim, as a banker, it was really amazing watching companies that were growing, 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 profitable at the bottom line, but then their cash was really stretched. So that's kind of where Meridian started in the very, very beginning.
But wait, why would there be a difference? Why is there ever a
What?
difference between a P&L and a balance sheet? Oh my
Uh,
goodness. We talk about that all the time. People
yep.
get confused about that. I'm going to obviously direct people to a previous episode that we did kind of talking about that. But Betsy, go ahead, tell us, because we were talking about money before. We said, wait, again, pause. Let's get this on a podcast. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
Tell us about money, the story that you have for us today. Let's hear about it.
Jim, the stories that really warm my heart are the stories about people who got themselves into quite a bit of debt and really thought that was normal for businesses. I mean, if you go to business school, they
Mhm.
tell you leverage, 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 right? And so some of our, long-standing companies had gotten into a lot of leverage. And as I was thinking about this, there's just been so many companies that I've worked with, and I was thinking about what are the triggers that get them to go, okay, I want to get out of debt. And then
Mm.
it's really cool when I see them actually able to do that. So one guy was he was in California, and actually the situation in California was that real estate devalued over a period of time, and he was getting calls from his bank. It's kind of like a stockbroker, where
Yeah.
they say, oh, well, we lended on a property that was worth, let's say, $1 million, and now it's only worth $750,000, but you owe more
Mhm.
than that, so you need to pay us back some money here, or something drastic is going to happen, like they're going to repossess. So it was really like he got into this big sweat mode on that. So with that guy, it was really interesting
Hmm.
to be working with him and to go, okay, you can do this. And he actually had some very excessive receivables. He'd had some bad debts. There was a lot of things going on with him that we were able to work with, he and his team. And I always think about him because he sent me an email, and it was only like 2 lines, but it was like, we're celebrating being at zero on our credit line. So,
Mm.
I mean, he said it feels wonderful. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like this feeling of relief, after
Mm.
what he'd been through. So that was pretty cool. And then as I've, worked with other companies, I had another company that again, like, super long-term legacy company. And what happened with them is that all of a sudden there were pricing increases on their goods, and those guys ended up where they bumped into their max limit, and that can kind of get you by the throat as an
That'd be
owner.
scary.
Oh yeah, it was very scary for them. So here they are in an economy that, has caused a situation where all of a sudden, they're having to pay suppliers and they don't have money to do it. So we have, in Meridian Method, I devised a term that and we won't go into it today, but it's basically your real cash, your true cash position is what I call it, is your cash minus what you owe on your bank line. So, if you've got $500,000 in a bank account, but you owe your banker $1 million, you're really at a minus 500.
Mhm.
So as I started working with this company and we started talking about keeping an eye on the financials, actually the controller guy was a really strong financial guy. I said, look, he said, is it really possible to get to zero, on a cash
Mhm.
position where you have enough cash in your account? Maybe you haven't used it to pay everything off, but you could, right? And so again, like I get emails from these guys, Jim, and it was really fun. So this guy, he had a day where they got off their line, and the first time I think it was only like 2 or 3 days, and he said, "But we did it. Like we were able to do it." And the way that we did it with them, which was really interesting, their real problem was in inventory. They had grown. They had a bunch of different warehouses. Like I said, the supply, amounts had gone up, and so we started working with them on just controlling the inventory, and that's what produced the cash. It actually made them more margin too, which was really exciting. So it's a very interesting story. So there was him. And then as I was thinking about, this debt situation, I had another guy that came to us, and he didn't really try and get out of debt or think much about the debt. Like he just grown up with leverage. But when his son, who was in his 20s, was coming into the business, he was like, I do not want to saddle him with all this debt.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
still remember he asked me, I was out speaking somewhere, and he said, hey, could you have lunch with myself and my son? And we sat down, and he told me the amount of his debt. It was pretty steep. It was like 17 million or something at the time. And he said, my heart's desire, because this was a heart matter for him with his kid. He said, I don't want to leave this world with him having to deal with that. Like I
Right.
know I've over leveraged this thing, and we've got to get out. So again, it was we worked with him. There was good assets, bad assets, profitable assets. We worked with him, but it really didn't take him that long to start shaving down the debt. And he started making like doubled up payments, like people do with their mortgages, Jim, on
Mhm.
Yeah.
on the debt on his business, and it tremendously reduced it. So as we work with him now, each year, part of his goals, because we always ask people, what would make the year awesome? Part of his goals is always this debt target, to be able to not exceed. And even though they're growing and they're buying stuff, they're buying trucks and they're buying warehouses and they're putting up stores and doing all this stuff. They're doing that with now this idea of I'd like to get out of debt. And the interesting thing was, usually you think about the younger generation as being like, yeah, get debt. The younger gentleman in this case, he's very risk averse. He's like, I want to be debt
Mhm.
free. So it's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
I love these stories, and it's just so interesting to me because I have met several business owners who are in debt. I mean, I've met some that were the whole time they had their family business, the business was in debt, and
Oh
yet
yeah,
they were growing,
it's common.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so fascinating that some, with your background, how you can take what you've learned as a banker and combine that with the Meridian method system that you've
Mhm.
created, and then get these companies out of debt who thought that that was just a part of living and owning a family business.
Yep. And I can tell you, Sheila, they sleep better.
Hmm.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
hear.
Who
Like,
wouldn't?
yeah. Yep. Yep.
So I guess what's that initial step that like somebody should take when they're talking about this? Is there like is it consistent that they need to do this or that, or what's the first thing that a business owner needs to do when they're saying, "All right, I'm ready. Let's get off this line of credit or let's get out of this debt."
Yeah, Jim, it's usually in one of three things. And I would say that most owners have a pretty gut intuition about which of the three it is. It's usually either how their billing and the receivables are going. With retail, it's a lot of times it's inventory, and they kind of know it's been ballooning up, but because they're growing, they think that that's okay. And then the third piece is with suppliers, like not managing suppliers in the most advantageous way. So it's so I would say first step for them is to know which of those three it is, because those are the biggest cash controllers of businesses.
Okay. No, that's perfect. That's a great place for people to start as they go back into and just taking a look at their own numbers of where
Yep.
they're at. So, and I know we're on limited time, but tell me, do you see more family businesses now moving away from debt in comparison to what it was in the past, or is it roughly the same, or where are you seeing this moving forward to?
Jim, it depends upon the interest rates. In seasons of low interest rates, you see people going, hey, I can really leverage with more assets and more stuff and growth and all those things. And debt is fine as long as it's not like out of control. When interest rates start to go up, or they start, being higher, that's when people start looking at the debt. But the other thing, like I said, is when they are trying to move their business to the next generation, and they say, sure would be nice to pass
Mm,
that on without a lot of debt. So
sure.
because we're working mainly with multi-generational businesses, that definitely is one of the drivers where um, so I think we work with a lot of, I would say, conservative family companies, and they have already probably built into their DNA where they don't want to over leverage. They're still private because they don't want to go get equity. They don't want to be a publicly traded. We don't work with those kind of companies. We work with
Mhm.
companies who want to keep it in the family, want to bless the grandkids that haven't even hit the ground yet. They want it going for generations. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think when you're thinking that way, you want to use debt very wisely. So we're not debt averse
Hmm.
here. We just, have worked with people where the debt has caused stress and they want to reduce it.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good answer. Good
And
answer.
everybody likes cash. Have you ever noticed, Jim, because you work with,
I love
very
cash.
closely with people
I like it.
well, with valuations, right? Is that when a company's cash is really good and they're making money, like everybody in the family gets along really well. When
Yeah,
the
that's very true. Yeah,
you
you're
know
totally
so
right.
it's like
People
Yeah.
build
sleep
the
easier.
cash. And
Yeah.
I learned a cash flow method as a banker that we still teach here in Meridian Method. And once people really get that banker's method of cash flow and they get it conquered, it's like, oh, they can run their company so much better from a cash perspective. So cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you said, everybody sleeps better at night, right? Who doesn't
Yes.
love to have a giant pile of cash?
Yeah. Good thing.
Well, Betsy, I want to thank you for your time today, sharing again valuable insight as always. And I want to encourage people again to go back, listen to these stories, jot down notes. Sheila, you also mentioned Meridian members and how we have great resources that are on there. As a reminder, Meridian is here to serve you and your family. If you're looking for succession planning, leadership, next gen coaching, you want to attend one of our awesome events, come see us face to face, you need a business valuation, we're here to be able to help you. Check the show notes for the description of all these items, as well as links to our website on how we can help. And feel free to reach out with any questions or comments at any time. Hit the subscribe button down below, catch all of our new content. We want to appreciate you for listening in. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Family Business Breakthroughs.
Bye, you guys.